Hello, planet Earth. Welcome to my YouTube channel. We're at IDK, my BFF Jill 730. I'm Preston L. Young, wishing you warm salutations and congratulations as always. You've made your way to the Buffington Post. Alright, so today we're going to be continuing my Season 9 coverage with Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 9, issue number 5. It's Slayer Interrupted. We got a lovely cover here by Steve Morris. I haven't really been mentioning who's been doing the covers. Joe Chin did most of them for Season 8, and now Steve Morris does the majority of them for Seasons 9 and 10. So, good job. I really love this cover. Nice, crazy dress, Buffy all dressed up, and it's nice to see Buffy dressed up, isn't it? Alright, so Season 9. I've said before, and I'll say it again, that Season 9 is just a great little portrait of what it's like to be a young person in your mid-20s. Got a lot of life problems coming at Buffy and all of her fellow characters, so...
Yeah, we've got Buffy, she's in debt, she's got a student loan, she has moved to this new apartment with these new roommates who just found out that she's a Slayer, and Slayers are just not cool, and there's this guy out there who can take away power, and there's also Simone out there, and so it's just been a really weirdness for Buffy. Not to mention the fact that she and Willow have kind of been on the rocks until the last issue, so...
With no further ado, let's jump into number 5 of Season 9, Slayer Interrupted.
Up and down this road, walking the line that's painted by pride. And I have made mistakes in my life that I just can't hide. Oh, I believe I'm ready for love has to bring. I got myself together. Now I'm ready to sing. I've been searching my soul tonight. I know there's so much more to life. Now I know I can shine the light to find my way back home, baby.
Alright, so the issue opens up, and we've got an army of zompires chasing Buffy, Dawn, and Xander at Buffy's apartment building. So, this is not very cute. And so, we get Dawn and Xander, and they barely make it into Buffy's apartment, and Buffy rushes in after them as she stakes a vampire. As Buffy gets in and she's like, whew, that was close, holy shit, Xander and Dawn are zompires. And so we're clearly in a dream. And Xander and Dawn attack Buffy, and then somebody comes up from behind them and stakes them, and Buffy's like, oh, no, no, those are my sister and best friend. And the person who dusted these vampires is the first Slayer. And the first Slayer comes to Buffy and says, you are not the Slayer. And so this is weird, because what else is Buffy if she's not the Slayer, right? Like, she's pretty much the only vampire Slayer. And so Buffy says, what are you talking about? And then wham, bam, the Slayer punches her right in the gut. And when she does, Buffy wakes up and she's like, holy Jesus. She goes to the bathroom and she's throwing up, and Tumble and Anahid can hear it. Willow and Buffy are talking about this crazy dream that Buffy had, and Willow is like, wow, that sounds intense. And Buffy says, yeah. She says to Willow that, you know, even the first Slayer seems to be holding a grudge against her for destroying the seed. And Willow says, well, have you talked to any of the other vampire Slayers about this dream that you had? You know, maybe some of them had the same dream. And so Buffy says, I really don't have any more Slayer friends. The only one that I have close to being a friend would be Kennedy, and she's still blaming me for the fact that you dumped her. Buffy says to Willow that maybe the first Slayer is telling her, you know, you're not a Slayer, and that means that she's going to actually lose her Slayer powers. And Willow says, no, that's not really how it works, because your power comes from within, which is, you know, why she would be able to still have her Slayer dreams in the first place. And so Willow says, why don't you try looking in the book that Giles left you? So Buffy goes rummaging through her trunk, and we see the broken scythe, and we see the vampire book, and she pulls out the book, trying to read it, but then, she falls asleep because Buffy's not a big reader. I think every time we see Buffy reading, she falls asleep. Anyway. So, yeah, she sees the first Slayer, and the first Slayer is kind of pointing her in this direction. And she's not really saying anything, she's just pointing. And basically she points at this like pile of trash that's guarded by an army of zompires, and atop the pile of trash is the broken scythe kind of stuck in a stone. And so the first Slayer tells her that only a Slayer, or only the Slayer, can pull the scythe from the stone, and you are not the Slayer. And so Buffy says, "Oh my god, why? Since when did you get so chatty?" Yada, yada, yada. And she tries to take out the first Slayer. And when she pins this first Slayer down, she sees that it's not the Slayer, that it's actually a fairy. And now this is the same fairy that we met in The Chain, issue number 5 of season 8. So Buffy wakes up and she decides to go and talk to Willow about this dream. And she says that she thinks that somebody is hijacking her dreams, that somebody is hacking into her own dreams, and she thinks she's getting a message from the first Slayer, and she thinks that whoever's jumped into her dreams is the person telling her that she's not the Slayer. So Buffy and Willow go to Buffy's apartment, and Willow is going to stay up and watch Buffy and see if anything super weird happens while Buffy tries to go back into this Slayer dream. And so they talk about the fact that it's so nice to actually spend time with each other again because, they're besties and they really haven't been spending much time together at all. So Buffy starts dreaming and she's surprised to see this fairy girl. And Buffy doesn't know what is with this fairy girl, but then the fairy tells her that her power is to put dreams and nightmares into people. And she had actually been planning to put nightmares into Buffy's head because she thought that Buffy was an imposter. You see, she was down with Decoy Buffy at Yaman when Decoy Buffy died. And so she thought that Buffy was actually an imposter. But when she started going into Buffy's head, she found out that, actually the other one was not the real Buffy. And so while she was trying to plant these nightmares in Buffy's head before she found out that she was really the real Buffy, she found out something that Buffy needed to know. But first, she's got to figure out what the first Slayer wants her to know. And so once again, the first Slayer has led Buffy to the pile of trash with the scythe on top. Buffy goes up to try and pull the scythe out of the stone, but it won't budge. And the fairy girl says it's not for you to pull out, it's for her. And basically what the first Slayer is trying to do is tell Buffy how to undo what she did to the world, how to put things back the way they're supposed to be. And so Willow comes along and she pulls the scythe out, and Willow is in Buffy's dream with her. Buffy and Willow are just themselves so connected with one another's lives that their dream spaces actually do overcross. And so this is how connected Buffy and Willow are, and it's nice to see the audience reminded of this. And so Willow picks up the scythe and she says, "Oh, I think that I need the scythe in order to bring magic back into our world." So Buffy and Willow are talking, and Willow basically says, "I'm going to have to go away, and I'm going to have to go away for a good long while, but this is what needs to happen." And Buffy says, "Please don't leave me right now. Things are just getting better between us, and I'm going through so much in my life right now, and I really need you." And Willow says, "If you love something, you have to set it free, and this is what I have to do." And so we see Willow and the first Slayer walk off into the dream space, away from Buffy. And so then Buffy's talking to the fairy, and the fairy tells Buffy that the Slayer is a part of her, but she's not a girl anymore. And Buffy doesn't understand what the fairy's trying to say. Everything's super cryptic. And the fairy says, just remember that you're not a girl anymore. So Buffy wakes up and she goes to her trunk and she sees that Willow has left her a note that says, "I've gone and I have to save magic and I didn't want to say goodbye twice. See you later." So Buffy runs out. She's looking for Willow, but Willow is nowhere to be found. And Buffy is again sick to her stomach. And so something kind of occurs to Buffy. And she comes back to her apartment and she's come back with some kind of something or other. So Tumble and Anahid want to talk to Buffy, and she says, "I can't talk right now, let's do that later." And Tumble and Anahid follow her to the bathroom, and Tumble says, "We know that you're a Slayer, and we don't know if we're comfortable living with you anymore." So Buffy's thinking, wow, these guys are afraid of me, and that's okay because I'm scared too. And we see that Buffy has taken a pregnancy test, and Buffy is pregnant. And that's where we end the issue. Okay, guys, so lots of things happen in your mid 20s. It's really easy to kind of stick with your friends and kind of stay in the groove of just being a young person when you're in your early 20s. But when you get to your mid 20s, that's when you and your group of friends really start to, maybe spend less and less time together. Your priorities change, your family dynamics change. You get married, you get pregnant, you go off to school in a different state or a different country. Things just change between people, and I like that we're seeing this a lot in season 9. Willow and Buffy, they can be best friends all day long, and that's never going to change, but you have to go out and do what's necessary for your own life, and that's what Willow is trying to do. She's trying to fix her own life by fixing magic, and Buffy doesn't realize it, but, that's really going to fix Buffy's life too. And you've got Xander and Dawn, and we just aren't seeing a lot of them because they are trying to do this whole shacked up situation. And Dawn's in school, Xander's working supposedly, and Buffy is having to figure out what she's going to do. I mean, Andrew, he's busy doing God knows what. We haven't even seen him. Spike, haven't seen him for very much at all. Basically, we've got Buffy, just like she always is when she's at her best, alone. And she's not as alone as maybe she would like to be, because being pregnant in the Buffyverse has got to be super crazy. And this is really, really great, because I can tell you, a lot of the chicks that I went to high school with, they, at about this age, had either already had babies or they were pregnant. And so this is a true story. A lot of the people that you went to high school with, by the time they're 25, half of them probably have kids. It's just life, and it happens. And it's happened to Buffy. And the big thing is, who's the father? Who's the father? Okay, Xander and Buffy were alone in Buffy's room, and she was like, Dawn will never have to know. So that's one. Riley, he and Buffy were in the van together, and she thinks she might have hit on him. So that's two, which would be super bad. And then who else? There's Tumble. Maybe, when she woke up after she blacked out, it was because she and Tumble had hooked up, or some rando at the party at the beginning of the season. We really don't know. It's not Angel, because too much time has passed between seasons 8 and where we are right now. And also, Angel's body is dead and he can't procreate, even though he did it that one time with Darla, but special circumstances. So, Buffy's pregnant, you guys, and it's crazy, and it's not going to get any less crazy as we move throughout season 9. So, stay tuned for number 5 of Angel and Faith. It's going to be this crazy bitch Harmony coming back. And, yeah. I'm Preston L. Young. I hope you've had a great 2015 so far, everybody. You can come right back here to the Buffington Post. I've got Buffy the Vampire Slayer reviews, Angel and Faith reviews, Buffyverse discussions, Season 8 coverage, discussions on the other Slayers, my continued Season 9 coverage, and more. Yeah. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Planet Earth, when I started doing my intros and outros, I was trying to make them funny and ironic, and I really got away from that. I kept trying to make them poignant or find the perfect song, but, for this one, I just had some fun, so enjoy.
Having my baby, what a lovely way of saying how much you love me. Having my baby, what a lovely way of saying what you're thinking of me. I can see it, your face is glowing, I can see it in your eyes. I'm happy in knowing that you're having my baby. You're the woman I love, and I love what it's doing to you. Having my baby. You're a woman in love, and I love what's going through you.
Test for sound. Test for sound. Test for sound.